So a little bit of an update with Park Place Technologies, and I think it's fair to say that since your sort of origins as a value-added reseller, you have come a considerable distance, shall we say. I think at the moment you characterize yourself as a data center network optimization specialist. So without sort of giving us too much detail, but can you give us the basic milestones on that roadmap, if that makes sense?
Okay, yeah, it's a long way since we were a Data General reseller. In fact, you'd have to be of a certain vintage to even remember who Data General were, I think. And then, I think people know us best as the kind of leading third-party maintenance business globally. That's been a fairly rapid kind of expansion and growth, which has involved a lot of acquisition along the way. And alongside that, and sort of complementary too, we've developed a portfolio of adjacent services and products, led by our customers and trying to help and do more for them as we are a maturing business. And yes, we've recently kind of rebranded ourselves as a data center and networking optimization business.
So yeah, you mentioned your sweet spot certainly was third-party maintenance. Is that still very much the driver, or with this slight rebrand, are you wanting to position yourselves as more than what you have traditionally been known for?
Sure, we've already made that shift. However, the third-party maintenance will always remain at the core of our business. Most of what we do starts with a hardware layer. But as over the last 5 years, we've been developing this suite of products and services as we kind of moved up the technology stack, looking to do more with our customers to simplify things, to give them single pane of glass view on their infrastructure in order to better root cause analysis and ultimately to help optimize that for their uptime and the management of their infrastructure.
And you've done a fair amount of acquiring on the way to sort of broaden out the portfolio, and some of those recent ones we'll go through if that's right. But the first one I think is inventory and logistics management, which is the NetSure Plus solution. Is that right? Or was that a company or a solution, or how did that come about?
Well, it's a company and a solution. It's in the networking space. It fits very nicely with the previous acquisition we did, where we inherited the Clearview analysis, which is a tool which looks at your networking estate and helps you kind of categorize it into 3 kind of groups in terms of how you might support that. For example, with Cisco, that's equipment you could genuinely consider using pure TPM, for the savings that would likely offer, typically kind of older equipment or non-core equipment. Then a subset of that, which we would absolutely recommend that you maintain on SmartNet with Cisco. And then a kind of hybrid product where you get enabled hardware, so you get the patching, updating, etc. And you combine that with our global infrastructure service, reach, engineers, etc., to provide a kind of a really good value look at how you manage your estate and help to leverage the best of breed services that we offer alongside support from the manufacturer, which is always a mix that we're looking at.
And I think as well something Congruity 360. I think you bought some assets from them. And if I remember correctly, Store First is a name. If that's one of the solutions you acquired, is that right?
Well done. You've done your research. It's Congruity 360, interesting business. They had a TPM business within that, so that was a very nice bolt-on. But I talked a little bit about kind of adjacencies and moving into other services and products that are adjacent to the core of hardware maintenance, and the Store First data migration software, which is a very interesting product and sits very nicely within the life cycle management that we offer. We're typically supporting assets, storage assets is a big part of what we do, from post-warranty through to end of life. And naturally, in that kind of end of life phase, or where they're looking to technology refresh or move to the cloud, there is a data migration piece that is involved in that. And now that's something we can help our customers to kind of move on to the next phase of their infrastructure journey around their storage management. So again, talking about adjacencies.
And just out of curiosity, was that acquisition, was that driven by customers saying to you, we'd love it if you could help us with this, or was it something you thought this is in a growing area, as you say, lots of companies going to more and more to the cloud, therefore we think we need to be offering that?
I think it was, it's slightly opportunistic, but sits very well within the portfolio of products, and our we're looking all the time to develop these complementary products to create an a la carte menu for our customers, so they can, we can help them with their immediate challenges, whether that be skills gaps or a migration to the cloud, or onto a new platform, etc. Just doing more with our customers and helping them along their digital journey.
Okay, and then I think you purchased a North American, it may well just be a TPM provider, but Reliant Technology, and then I noticed, I was surprised, but no reason particularly, but you've also opened your first, I just assumed you'd already done it, but your first Indian office. So again, give us the background to those. Okay,
the India project, which is one that's fairly close to my heart, I've been running and building our APAC operation for the last 4 years. I've been based in Singapore. That's been a kind of two and a half years in the process, setting up an entity, hiring staff, etc. And it was actually last year that we opened our office in Hyderabad, and very excited about the opportunities in the Indian market. Obviously, a rapidly growing economy, big IT kind of outsourcers located there, and really booming economy. And we're now offering the services that we provide to large global players to Indian based customers as well. And the other part of the question was? Yeah, sorry, I know I'm throwing a lot of things. Reliant. No, that's right. No, Reliant Technology, as you rightly point on, that is a bite-sized morsel in terms of TPM, largely US based. They have they have obviously some customers elsewhere, but yeah, that's a very nice kind of fold in that just adds a little bit more scale, more customers, etc., to our North American third-party maintenance business.
Okay, and just following up on the Indian thing, as you mentioned, there are some big names, and not least, I think the Chancellor Exchequer, we know he's not unrelated to a big Indian IT company, but there is opportunity for non-Indian companies to get into that market and provide. So I kind of assume that Indian companies have got it all sewn up, but there are opportunities for
absolutely. They're big global Indian-based companies that need that, have the same challenges, are looking for the same consistency and simplicity of support for their global footprint. It's it's very much the same proposition. They're facing a lot of the same kind of challenges. I know a lot of in their market, lots of stuff is coming in because of the cost savings, and they're outsourcing other people's data. But the infrastructure challenges are the same, and they need to manage those consistently and globally, which is where we are really able to help.
And in terms of the sort of technology and service solutions you offer, I believe you've expanded on the professional services side. So if you can give us a bit of background on that.
Yeah, we've always provided a level of professional services, and data center services was a smaller part of the business. But with the acquisition of Curvature, which we did back in November, who were kind of the second largest player in our market, they had a very active professional services business. Again, I spoke about adjacencies. There was a natural adjacency, for other services of a shorter term nature, project-based nature in and around the data center, and leveraging the footprint, capability, and people that we now have, globally. That we're able to offer customers, a global rollout of a variety of services that help them meet their day-to-day challenges and their needs of their digital transformation.
Okay, and now apologies, but I'm going to perhaps put you on the spot a little bit here. So it would be great. I mean, you've given me a lot of info about some of the new stuff you've been doing. Are you able to summarize your portfolio, so for people, with all these acquisitions? That'd be great to understand, what you do, and maybe even what you don't do at the moment, but just to give people the flavor of that breadth and depth of the portfolio.
Sure, absolutely. As I mentioned, at the core, and it's the hardware layer and the the data center hardware maintenance business that we have that spans 36 countries, with 170 countries where we're actually delivering support for some of the the biggest companies in the world, providing them with that consistent support and guaranteeing uptime in their estates wherever they may be. Alongside that, we talked a little bit about the professional services. That's a portfolio of staff augmentation, ITAD, IMAC, network infrastructure installation, and more short-term kind of project-based work that complements a lot of what we're doing in and around the data center. We've developed a suite of managed services products. Again, this is more moving up the technology stack. So there's server management around operating system support and management, storage management. And we haven't really talked very much about our networking capabilities, but we have a fantastic kind of best of breed network monitoring and management software product, Intuity. And so there is a range of services around that, which don't, not just monitoring, managing, optimizing, and taking care of people's network. And then, as part of the Curvature acquisition, we inherited a very interesting hardware business, again, with a global footprint in the Curvature infrastructure. And we've been very excited about that. That business has been going extremely well. The chip shortages and the squeeze on supply have generated a real opportunity and interest in alternative sources. So looking at the refurbished market. So that's been going very, very well the last 12 months in particular. And then we touched on a couple of the other bits that around Store First, which is more of a kind of managed services offering around the data migration piece. And then the Clearview Initial Plus kind of networking management and support piece that we offer. I think that's covered it all.
That sounds good. And in terms of engaging with your channel partners, you're putting together a pretty compelling tool set, I guess, to help them, and importantly, obviously, their customers, end users. I mean, we're all familiar with digital transformation, both pre, during, and post-pandemic. The world is changing rapidly, but you've got a pretty good existing channel and an attractive, if you like, proposition for more partners to join you. Is that right? Absolutely.
40% of our business is done through channel partners. Channel partners exist to offer choice to their, to the customers, and we like to offer them the same kind of choices. Plug gaps in their portfolios, offer them more to offer to their customers, and they're a hugely important part of our go-to-market strategy. We play very well and very successfully with some of the really big players there, and we'll continue always to do that.
Okay, and without wishing to sound too greedy, because we've discussed a lot of things that you have been up to in the last, 12 months, if not, more recent than that. And again, without giving away any, sort of trade secrets, I know, for example, you have just launched another version of the Intuity product, but are you able to share any ideas, vague or concrete, as to what we might expect? I'm imagining there'll be some more acquisitions, etc., but just a flavour of what we might expect for the rest of this year, maybe.
Absolutely. Well, on the basis of 20 acquisitions in just a little over 5.5 years, I think it would be safe to say we are and continue to be acquisitive for the right kind of companies that either add scale to what we do or further complementary product. So that we definitely can expect. We've been very successful as a business, focused largely on being the best at one thing, which was initially was the TPM, and then broadening out that portfolio. But, you know, primarily we are selling in English-speaking countries, or at least where English is the business language. And so one of my particular passion projects is to continue and to replicate some of that success, but to learn to do it in other languages. So, you know, we have a particular focus. You know, India's not a very good example, so English is the language of business there, but certainly a big focus on Germany and Japan, you know, this year, in order to kind of build out and localize. We're taking the global, local, and digital as my kind of strap line for that. So yeah, and you know, there are a number of areas. The edge is obviously you know, an interesting proposition. You know, that raises its own challenges, which I think sit quite well with our, you know, our infrastructure and ability to deal with product wherever it may be. So I think that's another area you know, for potential development as we move forward.
Okay, and I don't know, may or may not remember, I know more and more companies are talking about Kubernetes as something that's important to them. And I know in past conversations I've had with folks at Park Place, sort of AI ops, the whole sort of automation piece, is that something, so are either those becoming more important to you as a business?
Okay, well, you've picked on my digitalization business. It's global, it's local, it's definitely digital. You know, one of the first steps we took along our evolutionary journey here was, you know, to look at the core maintenance product and to introduce a digital element to, you know, that's our Park View hardware monitoring product, which is, you know, at its core is based on BMC TrueSight. It's you know, best of breed product. Completely automates the process. You know, the old process of logging a maintenance call was to see an orange light, ring up, exchange logs and information, etc., and eventually get an engineer on their way to site. You know, what we've done by introducing that digital piece is get it down to 2 interactions. That's typically us calling the customer to tell them they've got a problem and arrange data center access, and us calling them back to close the call, having done that. And you know, that's about not just connecting the brains with a little bit of AI and machine learning that's constantly monitoring the estate, is connecting that into the delivery capability in our delivery systems, also generating calls, automated triage, you know, as it continues to learn and improve. You know, a predictive element to fault finding, as well as a reactive element to it, and you know, just greatly improved speed and accuracy in that whole kind of process. So very big on the digital piece, and particularly as you know, we're talking zero. They talk in zeros and ones rather than Japanese or German. So that's also very helpful in that piece of the plan to further globalize our business.
And just on that Kubernetes, again, it might be a red herring, but is that something that you're sort of bumping into and have a sort of play in, or was it just something you need to be aware of when you're talking?
You know, I think it's an interesting area. You know, I think you know, that's one to watch and keep an eye on, really, at this stage.
Okay, and maybe just as we finish, we covered quite a lot of ground, but in terms of engaging with partners and even sort of end users down, if you had to sort of summarize, characterize what it is you do well and maybe what you do, you know, that other companies don't do in quite the same way, how would you sort of you know, characterize yourselves?
3 words: global, local, digital.
Okay, no, that's great. I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much for it. Thanks.
Thank you, Phil. Nice talking to you. Okay.